This is IED Activity 7.1, More Dimensioning, problem number 1. From the My PLTW website, this is the item that they wish for us to draw and also to provide dimensions for. So let's get started. When I look at the image here, I can see that it is 7 squares long, which is 1.75 inches. It is 5 squares tall, which is 1.25 inches. And the overall depth of this object is 5 squares, which is 1.25. This portion right here is only 2 squares tall, so it's 0.5. And this portion right here is only 2 squares wide, and it is also 0.5. So we have enough information to draw our front view of this object. So let's get started with that. To start, we'll go to Start 2D Sketch on our XY plane, and if we press down on the mouse button, the roller bar wheel, we can move this down here to the corner. So I put my origin down here so I have lots of space to work with. We're just going to draw the basic outline of this front view using the line tool. First thing I want to do is start by having my cursor snap to the origin so it turns green. So we'll click there. I can either go up or to the right. It doesn't matter which way we go. I'm going to go upwards. Notice that I have 90 degrees, and you can also, around my yellow circle, that you can see I have the vertical constraint showing up, so I'm going to use that. I said the overall height was 5 squares, or 1.25, so we're going to go up 1.25 inches. We're going to come to the right. We just drew this line here. We're going to make this line, which is 2 squares, or 0.5 inches, so we'll draw that line. Notice I've got it set at 90 degrees. I'm going to type in 0.5 inches and hit enter. So it's locked that one down. It also is put in my perpendicular constraint. So I have a vertical constraint. This line is perpendicular because I made sure it was 90 degrees. I'm going to come down again 90 degrees, and it is, I'm coming down on this line here. It's 1, 2, 3 squares, which is 0.75. So I'll set this up, make sure I'm on 90 degrees. My mouse is moving a little bit. I'm going to type 0.75 at 90 degrees and hit enter. So I'm locked in now at that dimension. Again, I have a perpendicular constraint showing right there. Going to come over here to the right. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. 5 squares is 1.25 plus the original 2 squares here is 1.75, so that's how we know that we've got the right dimension. Going to set it at 90 degrees. I'm going to type 1.25, come over, and again we have a perpendicular constraint showing up there, and our line is 1.25 inches long. So now we're going to just bring this down so it aligns and connects to our axis down here. The yellow dot popped on there, and I'll bring it back over and close out my loop by turning this dot green here at the origin and clicking there to finish my drawing. My drawing is done. I have my constraints showing here, which means I'm in good shape. I can click Finish Drawing now and go to my home view. I have that front view now drawn. The next step is to extrude this object. Its depth is 1.25 inches, 5 squares, so we're going to extrude it back or forward, it doesn't matter. 1.25 inches, so I'll click on the extrude. It already selected this surface for me, but it says it's only 1 inch. I need to change that to 1.25, and I click OK. I now have my object. I'll go to my home view to move that back a little bit so I can see it. And at this point, I'm ready to take and put this notch in. So in order to do that, I have to start a new 2D sketch. So I'll click on Start 2D Sketch. Click on I'm going to do on my top view surface right here of this portion of my object. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and at that point I want to start on this right side by having my cursor come over and watch for that yellow dot to jump onto that line. Click there, and I'm going to go ahead and start to put in my dimensions for this object. Now I want to come over here and look at this again. It's 1, 2, 3 squares wide by 1 square deep. So 3 squares I see is highlighted right now, the width dimension. is highlighted in blue, so I'm going to type in 0.75 for that one. I'm going to hit my tab key, and now it's asking for that depth dimension, and that depth is 0.25. And when I hit my tab again, you'll see that it has locked these two dimensions, so they can't be changed at this point. But I could flip it to the other side, and I don't want to do that. That would be an addition to our drawing. We want it to be cut through here. So I'm going to click on this side and click my mouse or hit the enter key, doesn't matter which one, and it puts it in place. And nicely, because we were doing a rectangle, it also has our constraints in place. Now we do have a problem. It is not located in the right spot. So I'm going to constrain that using my dimension tool. And I need to make sure that this is down a certain distance, and that distance is right here. It is 2 squares or 1/2 inch. So this line is 2 squares over. So I'm going to click on the top edge here of my drawing and come down to the top edge of my rectangle, and then pull my dimension tool over here, constraint tool over, and it's going to ask me for a dimension. It needs to be 0.5 inches. So at this point, notice everything is purple. We've fully constrained our drawing, because this object can now no longer move. Before, it can move up or down, but it can move left or right once we locked it in place. So we are ready to finish our sketch for this notch. We can hit our extrude tool again. Our extrude tool wants to know what profile are we going to extrude. We want to extrude this square rectangle here. However, we don't want it to go up. We want it to go down. This is not an addition or a join. This is actually a cut. So I will click the middle icon here, which is our extrude icon, and select the cut feature. And I don't need it to extrude or cut all the way down into outer space here. So I want it to cut through all. So up here where I said the distance, I'll change this down arrow here and down triangle and select through all. And at this point, it now selected the whole surface and went through the entire way. So I'm done with that view. I can click the green check to OK that, and we're in good shape. We're moving along quite well. We have one more notch to take care of. That's this notch right here. It is 1/4 inch by 3/4 of an inch. So 1 square by 3 squares. So we need to start a new 2D sketch. And we can either do it on the top surface here or the right side. Since we did this one on the top surface, we're going to do this one on the right side surface so that we get a little different view of how to do it. Again, we're going to use our rectangle tool to do this. I want to take my rectangle tool, get my cursor to snap to that line, which you can see it does that. You can see it pop up there and lock on, which is great. I'm going to come over here to the right. Again, I just said that this is 3/4 of an inch wide by 1 inch tall, so or excuse me, 1/4 inch tall, or 3 squares by 1 square. So right now I have highlighted my width of this notch, and it says I need to change that to 0.75. Hit my tab key. Notice the lock symbol just came on where I typed 0.75 in. So I've locked that dimension in place. And now it's asking for the height of this notch. It's 0.25. If I hit the tab key again, it now locks that height. So that rectangle will always be 0.75 by 0.25. Now, what it didn't do, we can still move this if we wish to. I press the escape key. I can still move this left and right if I need to, but I don't want to do that. You can see I can move that. So I need to lock that in. It needs to stay in place. The height of one of these upper pieces here is 1 square, so that's 0.25. So I want to grab my dimension tool, and I want to click on my edge of my left edge of my object or my notch to the left edge of my drawing. Oop, nope, don't want to do that. That's going to give me my height. Let's try that again. I need to grab the left edge of my object and the left edge of my notch, and I want to go up this time. Didn't mean to go pull it to the left. And I want to click over here to place this dimension, and that dimension is 0.25. Excuse me. So now my object is fully constrained and ready for me to extrude. So I will finish my sketch. I will click on my extrude tool. I want to click on this rectangle that we just drew. And again, it is making it a join, so it's adding this to it. We want to do a subtractive drawing here, or extrusion, so we want to subtract that material or cut it. So we want to tell it to, this says join, we want to go to cut here on our printer looking icon, which is the extrusion icon, and we want to then take the down triangle here and go down into through all. At this point, we've got everything. You can see it's kind of shadowed out where it's going to take that away. I'll click the OK button to that, and we have now made the view of the object, or the object that they asked us to create for 7.1 problem number 1. So make sure you save your file, and we will move on.